Well, the online culture war is reaching new areas.
It is.
And that new area is the courthouse. We're going to be talking about Vic Mignogna kicking back against the Kick Vic crowd. We will be talking about Laura Kate Dale lying about lyrics in a Persona game. And of course our picks of the week. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
And welcome back to Micah and The Hatman Live. Speaking of Vic, and for those of you who, I just tweeted this out, for those of you who might be new subscribers, for those of you who might have never seen this podcast before, we always start off with our picks of the week, where we briefly do like a 5-10 minute review of some media that we got on the last week. So Hatman, as always, I will let you lead off. Tell us about Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Well, first off, disclaimer. This is going to be a little bit of a munchy stream for me, so I apologize if you got to hear my chewing sounds and stuff the whole time. But anyway, yeah, so a buddy of mine got the Dragon Ball Super Broly Blu-ray, and he was like, hey, you need to watch this. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to watch this. So I did. And it's okay. It's more of a fan service movie than anything else. And honestly, I think it probably would have been better to see in 3D in theaters because of all the effects and stuff that happened, especially during the final fight. But no, it is absolutely a fan service movie. I mean, of course, from Broly himself, you know, being extremely fucking powerful. His voice is fucking powerful.
Thank you, Vic.
And even, you know, Gogeta's appearance too. Making things canon, at least, you know, proper canon, from movies and from characters that were fan favorites, but still not, you know, considered part of actual Dragon Ball lore. So yeah, the movie's okay. There's not a whole lot of dialogue after the halfway point because it's just fighting. It's just mostly one big ass fight between Vegeta and Broly, and then Goku and Broly, and then an ass whipping from Broly to Frieza, and then Gogeta versus Broly. It's again, it's fan service. There's really not a whole lot I could say. Like I wasn't really like a huge, you know, Broly fan back when Dragon Ball Z was at its height of popularity. I certainly knew people that were, and so I can understand, you know, all the hype surrounding this thing. But for me, it's like you know, it's fun. It's dumb fun. It's one of those things that you could eat an entire bag of chips to because, yeah, it's pretty all right. What's most interesting about it though is how it semi-retcons some of the timeline, at least as far as I understand, like how Frieza was a child when he destroyed Planet Vegeta.
Well, not a child, young though.
In this, it's very, very implied that he's a child.
No, he's a child when he's introduced to when he takes over the Frieza Force.
Right.
But he's an adult when he destroys the planet Vegeta.
He looked the same as that child Vegeta when that actually happened. I was like,
you might want to go back because he's in his normal form.
It didn't look like it to me.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe I will have to watch back over that. But anyway, no. Aside from that, though, I do appreciate that they kept the whole Bardock thing the way that they did. So
kind of altered it a bit, though.
Just a little bit, yeah.
They made Bardock less of an asshole.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if episode of Bardock where he becomes a Super Saiyan
Oh
on another
God.
planet is canon though. Probably not. But but no, that was it was pretty good for the lore dump that you got there too. And then you got to see young Vegeta and Raditz also.
Yes,
That was
and Goku's mom.
yes, you actually get to see Goku's mom too. So that's oh god, that was terrible too. The scene where they send him away and she's just like, "Don't forget about us." Just narrator, he promptly forgot
About
them.
them.
Oh god. But Bardock L, yeah, Goku
Yeah,
has
basically, it feels oddly similar, oddly enough, to the Man of Steel version of sending Clark away. Except the difference being is that no, they don't die until later.
yeah.
Like, it felt very much like that. The allusion to Superman was blaring in your face. So, but then again, Goku has always been martial arts Superman in a sense.
Yeah. So people are saying now, yeah, Vegeta's older when Planet Vegeta's destroyed. He was a baby when Frieza was introduced. Yeah, that's kind of weird as far as timeline goes because it's like Goku is sent off world, and then like after that is when Frieza comes in and decides to blow up the planet, and then you've got the whole okay, well, here's Vegeta as a child being told that by Nappa no less that Planet Vegeta was destroyed and
Yeah.
all kinds of timeline weirdness. No wonder it's hard for me to fucking follow. But
yeah, final thoughts, real quick. 'Cause we got to move on to my pick and then stuff.
final thoughts. There's a lot of screaming in this fucking movie.
Yes.
There's a lot of screaming. Also, what's her name? Green chick. I forget what her name is. She totally wanted Broly's dick.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
She totally wanted it.
Yeah. She apparently has a thing for giant barrel-chested men.
Something I do want to address here. Patrick Star 24 in the chat says Funimation removed Vic's voice credit from the Blu-ray release. No, they did not. It is in the credits. I made sure to check for that. What they pulled was his Q&A thing from the bonus features.
Yeah.
We will talk about that later.
Yes, because that actually factors into this whole thing with Vic. So
Yes.
let's
We
go
will
ahead.
talk about that.
I'm going to talk about just my pick for about 5 minutes. But oh boy, do I have a pick this week. So for those of you, I am preparing to start outlining future arcs of Project Lazarus this week, alongside with a lot of other writing I want to get done. And plus Mortal Kombat 11 comes out this week too. So, and I'm really looking forward to that, especially after playing 10 last night. And if you have any questions about Mortal Kombat 11, I do know that there's like microtransactions and stuff like that in it. There was in 10 too. But I'm going back through a lot of my inspirations for that book. And one of them, for those who don't know, is Hellraiser. Hellraiser is one of my favorite horror films ever. Ever. It's an interesting one going back and watching it. I actually hadn't watched it in a few years. But lately I have been going back and watching, 80s horror movies, 80s and 90s. Like there's this one, and then of course Cube is another one of my favorites. The original Friday the 13th, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. But I really have always loved and this is the positive of Hellraiser, was the atmosphere. It is a very atmospheric film. The music is really well done. The lighting is incredible. And not to mention, because this is an 80s movie, practical effects. And you look at a movie like this, or The Thing, or things along those lines, practical effects have such a better feel than CG does. Like, it's incredible.
Oh, that last kill, too, though.
Jesus wept.
Oh, man. Yeah, that being done in practical effects is fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. And so, for those who don't know, Hellraiser is a story about a hedonist named Frank who buys a box called the Lament Configuration. What the Lament Configuration actually is it is a box, a puzzle box that unlocks doors to other worlds. One of which is hell. And one of the, basically, the priests of hell, basically, the Cenobites, are unlocked. They take him prisoner and drag him to hell. Fast forward to the house that he did this in, and a family moving into it. Well, the family that's moving into it, it's the guy's brother and his pretty attractive British wife.
It's like a fucked up version of Jumanji.
Sort of, but it's before Jumanji. But
yeah, that's true.
What happens is the brother cuts his hand while trying to move a mattress upstairs, because they're moving into this house. Blood spills onto the floor of the attic. That resurrects his brother, the hedonist, and as such, he starts killing people and devouring them to become whole again, because he comes out as basically a skeleton. And it's a disturbing film. It is incredibly haunting. Admittedly, though, the acting is not very good. You have to keep something in mind here. Clive Barker wrote and directed this. It's based on his novel, The Hellbound Heart. He wrote the screenplay as well. Couldn't find a director, so he directed it himself. It shows. In the sense that the cinematography is good, the lighting is really good, the effects are really good, the atmosphere is incredible, but the acting is not there. And that's kind of like the downer of it, is that everybody in this film is really chewing the scenery. And what really makes the film effective is the fact that it is as grotesque as it is. So, this is one of those things that you'll never really watch for the acting. Except for the Cenobites. The Cenobites, the way that they move, the way that they're put together, the way that they reveal themselves, everything that Pinhead says will keep you on the edge of your seat, because he is legitimately arresting to look at when you first see him. That sort of thing. Like, it's again, one of my favorite films of all time. The Cenobites were a partial inspiration to some of the characters you will see in Project Lazarus, though not as direct. More in attitude and vibe, more so than look. This is basically a fucked up S&M horror movie. But that's kind of what makes it so interesting. And for those who don't, and on top of that, one thing to add would be if you get the chance, the second film, Hellbound, is also, it has all the same positives of the original, and the acting is a lot better. And to think, I hesitated. One of the most chilling lines in a horror movie ever. It's from the second film. But this one, though, will tear your soul apart. It's just, that's one of the best threats in context that you'll ever see. And the way that, like, the Chatterer Cenobite, he's introduced, he grabs Lori, puts his fingers in her mouth in a very sexual manner. It just, that's the element that makes it so horrifying. It really feels oddly degrading as a horror experience, as opposed to just, like, body horror or things like that, like a Cronenberg film or something like that. This is a very... Clive Barker is the king of gore, in a sense. And also the king of sexually weird situations when it comes to horror. And that is what makes Hellraiser so interesting. So it definitely gets a glowing recommendation from me. If you have Amazon Prime, it is free to watch. So check it out if you're looking for some really good horror. I know it's really weird for me to go into horror before October comes around, but seriously, Hellraiser's fucking great. Just not for the acting. All right, let's go. What would I say Eli Roth is the king of? Being a not good Clive Barker. All right, so Laura Kate Dale is a liar.
How's that for a transition?
So, we I did a live stream a while ago because Laura Kate Dale, who is Jim Sterling's pet minority, I'm going to have no good things to say today, at one point wrote an article without fact-checking or without considering anything about Humble Bundle doing one of their bundles for a church-based or Christian organization that helped out orphans in Russia. And the stink she made was it is a Christian organization. And I did a live stream basically talking trash the whole time, but also pointing out the fact that Christian organizations the world over have done more good work than anyone else. What is the problem? It's not a proselytizing institution. It's to help orphans in Russia, you bint. So I wanted to get that out of the way so people knew my obvious bias on this out of the gate. But this particular one is a real stinker. So what happens is Joker from Persona 5? 5 is it? Hatman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's 5.
5. I don't play Persona games.
I don't either. I just
you know Smash though. I don't.
Yes.
So I would figure you would know more than I would in this scenario. So with Joker comes out in Smash, and his character music is the theme from Persona 5. Well, Laura Kate Dale runs with an article on Kotaku stating that the Persona 5 theme has the word retarded in it. So keep in mind, this is I think we're like a year removed from Persona 5 being released. So something why like that, this didn't come up then is a little ridiculous. Mostly, and the reason that it probably didn't at the time is because they were trying to focus on saying there's not enough gays in Persona, which is a little silly. Everyone's favorite character in the 4th game is the gay guy. But anyway, KG or Kenji, I think is his name. But
no, I don't play Persona.
I don't either. So, but the chat does. They'll let us know. But anyway, so if it really had said retarded in it all these years ago, why did He-Man just appear on my... That was really weird. 420 Gunny just gave us $50. I think that's probably why. I'm like, I say that, and then I see gay He-Man on my screen. And then I got money all of a sudden. What the fuck? What did he say? Oh my god. I have the power, apparently. Okay. So he it's a review request, so real quick. He'd like for us to choose one of these to review. Demon King Daimo, which is a reverse Harry Potter. What if Voldemort went to school didn't want to be evil? The other is Tenchi Universe. I'm picking Demon King Daimo. I already know what that is. So anyway, back on this though, that really caught me off guard. But but anyway, so if it had said the word retarded in it, this would have came up years, like back when it came out, 2017, 2018, whenever Persona 5 came out. You know, it would have been obvious, but it doesn't. It says retort it. It is a Japanese singer singing English lyrics. There's going to be a bit of Monda Green, where it's going to sound like one thing and it isn't. I mean, and for those who don't know what Monda Green is, it's basically when lyrics are sung, they sound like one thing, and it doesn't say that at all.
It's like trying to play a song backwards to find a message about...
No, not really. It's like when people think... There's a song called Liberate by Slipknot, where the lyric is, liberate my madness. But when Corey Taylor sings it, it sounds like liberate bananas. That's a Monda Green. So clearly that's happening here. But this is an English song. So cultural insensitivity right out of the gate.
So she's racist.
Kinda, yeah. But that's been an excuse, like, that's actually been an accusation that's been gone towards her. But she ran the article anyway. Now, Kotaku has since apologized for it because it was obviously false, but they left up the original article. What Laura Kate Dale is claiming is that she didn't want to run with this story because she didn't know if it was actually the truth. Bullshit. I don't believe a fucking word of that, and here's why. And Hatman and I are both people who have done journalistic work. You do not even think of publishing a story or discussing an idea unless you have something to discuss. You do your proper research. In this case, all you have to do is find a fucking lyric video on YouTube, you moron. Mm-hmm. But she didn't. She ran with the article anyway, and now she's trying to throw her boss under the bus. Because keep in mind, Laura Kate Dale has a history of lying to people.
It's not even that. Waiting for a response from Nintendo or Atlas before you run the article, that's, especially for something like this, is kind of required.
Yes.
You don't send out the email, then publish the article and say, we're waiting for a response. Like, no. You give them a reasonable rate of time to respond.
Especially if it's not a time-sensitive manner.
No, it's not. Like, 24, 48 hours on something like this,
yeah,
that's absolutely reasonable. This isn't breaking news.
You are I was going to say, this is not breaking at all.
No.
Like, you are 2 years removed from the game's release, and it's not something that really even has anything to do with the way the game plays. You're in a trade press. You don't write for the Washington Post or something like that. You don't write for the New York Times.
No.
Well, the New York Times would probably do the same thing. Bad example. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. You're not on a deadline pressure to scoop somebody else on this.
Yes, and
absolutely not.
That's why I don't believe a word she says here.
On top of that, this could be actionable too.
Yes.
This could be libel.
Yeah.
And I'm not familiar with libel laws in the UK because this was Kotaku UK, but at least in the States, reckless disregard for the truth, which is, what's on display here, that's actionable. That is one of the conditions you have to meet in order to prove libel.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. Like I said, Laura Kate Dale, history of lying, history of telling half-truths. Did it to Microsoft, saying that there was an anti-trans statement made towards her. Laura Kate Dale is transgender, for those who don't know. That's why I said that she's Jim Sterling's pet minority. She wouldn't have a career if it wasn't her association with Jim.
Did it to Nintendo. She tried to claim that certain Switch ports were being released, including a port of a Smash Brothers for Wii U, and that's why certain amiibo were delayed so their release could coincide with that. Claimed that she had an insider source. It was all bullshit. She got blacklisted by Nintendo for it.
Yeah, and she deserved it.
Yeah, so...
Not to mention, she's infamous for constantly leaking information. For clicks. So the idea that she is innocent in all this, and really it's Kotaku and the editor that's the problem, no. You wouldn't have even thought about printing this. Because I was in a similar situation when people were accusing Renfamous and SJW Spider-Man of being paid by that, what was it, Webster something or other?
I don't remember what it was.
Weber Shandwick. Because Kwanzaa works for them. Mm-hmm. I did some research on it. I could not find a connection. I gave them 48 hours to respond to me before I ran with an article. When I ran with the article, what I said in it was, I could not get confirmation that Kwanzaa still worked for them. I could not get confirmation that that anybody that we know on Twitter was taught by them on how to do this sort of counter PR sort of technique that they developed. So I had no confirmation. There is still no evidence. And I stated as much in the article. What I ended up writing on was a completely different idea that was tangentially tied into Weber Shandwick because, again, there's no evidence. So I've been in a similar situation. I waited to write the piece.
Yep.
That's what you do. And again, simple 5 to 10 minutes of research would have debunked this, and she would have gone, no, I was wrong.
Yep. But
five to 10 minutes.
Thinking about it, though, I think it stands to reason why she wouldn't wait for a response from Nintendo or Atlas. Because if she got the response that said, no, actually, that's bullshit, this is what the lyric says, she doesn't have a story anymore.
Yeah.
The story gets spiked instantly.
Exactly.
So,
And she is not, she is a clickbait artist. And a joke of a journalist.
As is Kotaku.
Well, this is Laura Kate Dale. And again, and here's the thing. I put this at the feet of Jim Sterling because, again, she would not have a career if it wasn't for her being Jim's pet minority. She's also part of the reason that people had such issues with Total Biscuit near the end of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that whole thing. He goes out of his way to defend her, then she threw him under the bus.
Mm-hmm. She was the one who got offended over the "Are traps gay?" question at CoxCon.
Yeah.
Fuck him?
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Alright, on to the final topic, and we've got about 15 minutes to talk about it. Vic Mignogna is kicking back against Kick Vic. So, this is, I'm reading this from Bounding Into Comics, so thank you to John Trent for writing this article. He says here, Dragon Ball Super Broly voice actor Vic Mignogna has filed a lawsuit against Funimation, Jamie Marchi, Monica Rial, and Ronald Toy. Mignogna is suing them for defamation, tortious interference, there comes that again, with existing contracts, tortious interference with prospective business relations, civil conspiracy, and vicarious liability. The suit was filed in Tarrant County, Texas on April 18th. Mignogna's lawyer, Ty Beard, who, by the way, Nick Rekieta just did an interview with, claims in the lawsuit that the defendants defamed Mignogna and knew these statements were false or made them with negligent disregard for their truthfulness. The suit claims that the defendants' conduct was willful, fraudulent, malicious, and in wanton disregard for Vic. He points to a number of statements made by Ronald Toy, Monica Rial, and Jamie Marchi on Twitter. Those statements include accusations that Vic Mignogna engaged in quote-unquote harassment or threatening behavior. The suit claims that Ronald, a Funimation agent or employee, has tweeted more than 80 times that Vic sexually assaulted or assaulted Monica, more than 10 times that Vic sexually assaulted or assaulted 3 of his very close friends, more than 10 times that Vic has been accused of hundreds of possibly thousands of assaults, and at least 17 times that Vic is a quote-unquote predator. It also points to a number of tweets made by Rial and Marchi. So when you look at the numbers there, and when you look at the statements about all of this, what you're finding as a constant is these accusations that are made with no evidence. You cannot say of a public business person that they are like a child molester or or somebody who sexually assaults people or assaults them when no charges were ever filed and there's no evidence at all, and it's word versus word.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do that. And this is something that we are finding is a constant problem with this whole Me Too thing. Is that people are throwing out baseless accusations about people with no evidence at all and nothing to corroborate it. They stir up online hate mobs that go out, cause problems for companies. They pull people because they're worried about their profit margins, and then lo and behold, what happens? People lose money. People lose livelihoods.
Yeah.
Now, we had talked about this before, but I'll mention it again, is notice how people started getting really fucking quiet whenever there were rumors that Vic was looking for a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like when somebody, threatens you with defamation, you stop fucking defaming him.
Exactly.
So, Funimation's bit. I'm not sure if this is going to be part of the tortious interference bit, but I know at least they can get hit by false advertising because, as I mentioned, the Q&A with Vic Mignogna for the Dragon Ball Super Broly Blu-ray is not fucking there. It's gone, despite the fact that it was advertised. Let's see if it's still on Amazon, actually. Yeah, it is. Go look up Dragon Ball Super Broly the movie on Amazon right now. Special features. Vic Mignogna answers your questions. That is not on the fucking Blu-ray now.
Yeah.
That's an illegal.
Yes, it is. That's very illegal. And here's the thing. I am genuinely surprised that one of the people named in that lawsuit wasn't fucking Mars Girl. Because she's just as guilty as anybody else. I guess that probably what Ty Beard thinks is that there's probably no way to really prove that she had any sort, or that her statements had more, or did more damage than other people's. But I will say this right out of the gate, is that there should be a lawsuit against her and others for these statements and for dropping him. I just saw that the head of Rooster Teeth just resigned. And it wouldn't surprise me, because people are saying there's going to be a round 2 of lawsuits. Wouldn't surprise me if he's named. And yes, there's a good point from the chat. Yet is a good phrase to say here, because sometimes these things do happen in phases. Now, I did a live stream with Hirohei last week. Really good discussion. And one thing that I have noticed, though, is that support for Vic as a voice actor has not gone down, it has gone up since this has happened. And I think that this is something that needs to be said about where we are at right now culturally. I think that there's, obviously I'm celebrating this lawsuit. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it should happen. I wanted it to happen. And it happened. So good for Vic. And I'm going to be praying that justice is served here. Because if he's not guilty of it, and by all accounts it looks like he's not. Can't say anything definitive, obviously, because we don't know the guy. But as it stands, this really, really, really is fucking evil, what people have been trying to do to this man. But what this says, though, about about fans in general, is that people aren't stupid. Or as stupid as certain culture vultures would like to think that they are. We live in an information age, and I think that, and as time has gone on, I have realized that is a very good thing. Because it's very hard to keep evidence away from people. It's very hard to get testimony away from people. It is easier now to find out truth if you look for it than ever before. And I look at this and I say to myself, this is a guy who deserves to be exonerated for what happened. He deserves to get something back. Because, and here's the saddest part of it, is, and I compared Vic to Brett Kavanaugh for a reason, is with Vic, I don't know how easy it's going to be for him to get work after this. Because do I think that Funimation is just going to rehire him? No, I don't. He's going to burn him. He's going to get money. I think that's going to happen. But after that, what's next? And that's generally the question that we have to ask anytime that one of these lawsuits comes around. Is he still going to be able to find work? I'm praying that he will. But there's no guarantees. what they have done, these Kick Vic people, is they have damaged a man's career based on nothing. And Yellow Flash did a video on this months ago around this whole thing started, that there were people who were behind the scenes on Facebook putting together groups to defame him, to lie about him. And what really gets me about all of this, I made this point to Hirohei, but we didn't really get to go too in-depth into it, so I'm going to go into depth on it here. This is about politics. And that's what disturbs me the most about it. Vic Mignogna is a Christian. Vic Mignogna is a conservative. This is, and always was, never about accusations. People got behind this. People wanted to defame him for one particular thing. Sign the Yowie, bigot. Mm-hmm. That's always been what it's been about.
Remember Funimation's statement after their investigation. Commitment to diversity and inclusion. Why in the hell?
What does that have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with sexual assault, sexual harassment allegations?
Less than nothing. And yet they mentioned it. Mm-hmm. It's not a coincidence. But that is what this is about. And there are people who have gotten involved with this that say that they're Christians. Did you forget the part about bearing false witness?
Mm-hmm.
So don't get me started on that noise. I don't know Vic Mignogna, but from what I have gathered by looking at the facts, this is an innocent man that people attacked because he didn't agree with what they do in the bedroom. Who the hell cares? Why do we have to care? And this is the problem. It's the gun pointed to your head saying, you will be forced to care. You will be made to care. Sign the Yowie, bake the cake, do the ceremony, bigot. That is where we're at right now in our culture. There are people out there that are insane when it comes to these sorts of things. And the courts are the way that we are going to nip this shit in the bud. I don't know what the long term is going to be for Vic. I pray that he's still able to find work after all the settlements are done and everything's done and he's been exonerated by this whole process. But this, more than anything, this, our friend, our boy Zach, this is setting a precedent that we are not defenseless. You can't just do this and expect to get away with it. Not anymore. Not putting up with it. And we never should. Fuck that and fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Whew. Another impassioned speech from Micah Curtis.
No, right?
So, real quick, before we start the Q&A, somebody had mentioned in the chat that Mortal Kombat 11 is going to have microtransactions and stuff like that. So did 10. A lot of people tend to forget that because the controversy lasted a whole of like 10 seconds. Like you could spend $20 and unlock the entirety of the crypt, and and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, I did. Well, I bought that like on a sale. I actually unlocked it all for $10, but yeah, that's not new. As long as it's all cosmetic, I don't care. And like the easy fatality thing was admittedly silly, because fatalities in that game are not hard to do. But whatever. Again, my whole thing is if you don't like it, don't buy it. And if you do like it, do buy it, and then we'll let the market sort itself out.
Yay! Capitalism.
Exactly. Shame the Micah? No, you're not shaming me. I'll throw you out the airlock. But one thing that is kind of shame is I had unlocked like half of the crypt. Most of what I got was like concept art and stuff like that. So, but let's go ahead and
get to the Q&A proper.
Yes. So
means I got to open up my phone for the emails again.
Yep. So Alistair wants to know of our patrons, what is our favorite Contra game? For me, it's the first.
Yeah, first two. First, only for sentimental reasons. Me and my sister used to play that on our bootleg 750 games in one thing that had a whole bunch of fucking NES games repeated on there.
Yeah,
we played it all the fucking time. So
my dad and I played Contra a lot together, so it's very sentimental for me and him. There was a time like ages ago, like where he and I got to play like video games again on on Christmas or something like that, and it wasn't even Contra. I was just really, really happy because we don't get that chance anymore. I mean, we're old now, so hopefully someday if I ever have kids, I'll get to play Contra with them. It'll be the very first game that we play. So, and then Holy Ninja Toe wanted to know, how do we know when we need to make your story an episodic or continuous? Well, it really just depends on how you decide to end it. You know, for me, like, I knew that Project Lazarus was going to be a long one because it wasn't a story that I intended to take like a very like a one bad day sort of storyline. I knew that I wanted this to be a long story that set up a universe that I'll actually be working on for years on end. So, yeah. That's just sort of how the story morphs. I have other stories that I have planned out that'll be graphic novels, just be one-offs, because when I like outlined the story, it came to, okay, it's got a very set start, it's got a very set end. You know, Project Lazarus does not have it has a set end, but it's years later after the original, and there's all this stuff in between that you can talk about. Same with Inglewood. Like, I don't really have an ending for it. So, which one of you fellers is the real Dirty Dan?
I'd say I'm Dirty Dan.
I don't know what you're referencing.
Chat, you know what to do.
Dirty Dan. Wait, like just the line sounds familiar, but I can't remember what it's from.
SpongeBob reference.
Oh, that's right. Like, oh yeah, I've never watched SpongeBob.
Jesus.
I like my brain being where it is. I don't like it being sludge. I don't want it leaking out of my ear.
Look, man, if your brain has not turned to at least like 20% sugar over cartoons, you're doing it wrong.
Nah, it hasn't happened yet. You have to keep in mind, I'm evil. So, Chaos Sonic donated $5. Thank you, sir. And he says... First Mars Girl and now Beth Elderkin. How many of these entitled brats from Channel Awesome might be on the soon-to-be-sued by Vic chopping block? Not enough. That is for sure. What are my rates for reviewing movies? And I'm not going to count this for Hardboiled Entertainment. What are my rates for reviewing movies, TV shows, books, games? If it's something that I can already access for free, like if it's on Amazon or something like that, just throw a little something my way. If I have to buy something, like the guy who paid me to do the audiobook of The Drawing of the Three, that's like a $30 audiobook. So he gave me that and then $20 extra for labor. So that's basically it. Is if I'm buying something I don't already have, or if I have to purchase like a Crunchyroll membership or something like that, throw that my way, the cost of that plus a little extra. And then, because whoever it was who paid me to do Golden Wind did that. Like, now, whenever I get around to it, I've got the funds to get Crunchyroll for a month, you know? So that's helpful. So, yeah. Product and labor. Sort of like having me install a stereo. Like, buy the product, then pay me a little bit for my time. Okay. Okay.
Let's get to emails and stuff.
Yes, so emails.
All right, so Weeb Friend Questionable Variety Chris. The Japanese had the Sengoku period, and the Chinese had the Three Kingdom eras as well to draw from for heroic characters, clarifying from last week's question. Mm-hmm. While it can be argued the medieval period was the West, we rarely hear or read about any heroes from it. Though maybe the West's equivalent from those rich Asian periods is Arthurian?
Well, no, we have a couple. We have Richard the Lionheart. We have Robin Hood.
The Crusades, obvious.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have our own. There's not a ton of them.
Of course.
Yeah, Charlemagne's another really good one.
Yeah, Charlemagne, because you got the whole Song of Roland thing too, although that's kind of lost public consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd say that's where.
Yeah, Hardboiled makes a really good point. America has the Old West.
Yeah,
and we have the Revolutionary War. Well, we have quite a few war heroes. We even have people now that are coming into legend because of how good they were at fighting. Chris Kyle, anyone?
Joan of Arc, St. George, yeah.
Yeah, so there's quite a few.
Good examples, yeah.
But yeah, they are, a lot of them are from the Middle Ages, though. From the Dark Ages.
Yeah. The Age of Heroes. Okay, from Ultimate Agent 25. Micah, how would you write Shazam, aka the original Captain Marvel?
I don't know. That'd be a hard one for me. You got to keep in mind, and Hatman can attest to this, I'm a very dark writer.
Yeah.
Like, I am 300 some odd pounds of heavy fucking metal. Like, I remember when I was on my artist for Inglewood, Brian, his live stream. He's like, and I had him play the metal version of the opening of Castlevania 3, and he was like, he looks like the guy who played that music. I have a very dark mentality. I don't know if I could write Shazam well. If I did, what I would probably end up doing is I would probably sit myself in a room and read a bunch of Golden Age Shazam comics and kind of keep an idea. And I would basically write it for kids. I won't lie to you. That would basically be what I would do. Even with Black Adam, I would still have him be fucking evil, but I would never really have him do anything on paper that would be really gory or violent or anything like that. Reason being is I want to capture the innocence of Billy Batson. And to do so, I would have to kind of put myself in a different mindset than what it's normally in. So hopefully that answers your question.
Speaking of Shazam, good God, the box office numbers were not good for it.
That's a bummer.
It sucks. It's, damn, domestic total is only 110 million.
Personally, wow. a dark take focus on Billy's angst. No, Billy's a good kid. No. I am not doing edgy Shazam. No, I'm not giving him punk rock. I'm not giving him a punk rock jacket and a mohawk. Okay, it's not happening.
Is that he's pure of heart.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. You don't get an angsty kid. You don't get Billy Batson becoming an edgy fucking teenager with parachute pants who plays DDR in the mall on weekends.
I would never do that with Billy. Ever. I could never do it. No. I know you didn't say edgy. I'm making a joke. But seriously, I would never I would never make him angsty. Ever. He is pure of heart. That's why he was chosen by the wizard. If I depart from that,
that's the problem with anger. Like, can you make a righteous anger and still have him be pure of heart? Like, maybe he loses the power of Shazam, but I don't
even then, know. Righteous anger is different. The pure of heart can be angry. It's angst is different. Angst, we're entering Kierkegaard territory there. Angst is different. Angst switches your perception of the world. Anger is a response to certain stimuli. So I could definitely write an angry Billy if bad things are happening around him. I could never make him like an angsty character. That would be trash. So yeah, could never do that.
I don't know how you would do righteous anger though. Like even
any hero has righteous anger. Spider-Man has righteous anger. Captain America has righteous anger. Like it's a response. It's not really so yeah. I think Hardboiled meant something completely different there.
Yeah, I just don't know how you would write it though. That's the thing.
You put him in situations where everything else around him is kind of boned, but he's kind of the beacon of light in the center of it.
Maybe
that's not really a tough one. So okay. So Matchstick wants to know thoughts on the MK11 DLC characters being data mined. It's going to around Reddit personally. think it's real, but I'm still taking it with a grain of salt. There's been a lot of rumors. We're not going to know until the game comes out, or until like the reviewers get their hands on it. Like, because there's a rumor that that Cyrax and Sector are going to be DLC. Wouldn't surprise me. I hope they're not, because they're in the story trailer. But sometimes, and they did this with XL, is they did have a couple of characters that appeared in the story mode that either had limited movesets or needed to be or just had completely different ones when they were downloadable content. Bo Raicho and Tanya come to mind. So yeah, I'm not really like that worried about it, to be honest with you. Because the DLC in 10 was really good. The DLC in 9 was really good. Like, I'm not really that bummed about it, to be honest with you. There's things I would have liked, but I understood the decisions that they made. In this particular game, my hope is that they would focus less on guest characters for DLC and bring back older ones instead that just aren't in it. But one things that I have been spoiled on is the appearance of Frost. And she looks fucking awesome from what I have seen. I kind of made fun of people on Twitter on for this one, and I don't know if you saw this, Hatman, but there were some people who very unwisely, and I'm not naming names because I think that they probably have realized that they were being silly at the time, complained about the character of Frost not showing enough skin. She has no skin beneath the head. She's a fucking robot. She literally, like, the only organic part of her is her head. So I'm like, she has no skin to show. I feel like Randy Orton in that one match with Daniel Bryan where somebody told the ref to ring the bell in a no DQ. It's like, ring the bell! It's no DQ! You kidding me? There's no bell to ring! So, it's like, what the fuck? Anyway, so, let's see here. We are on the chat now, right? We're out of email questions and stuff like that.
Well, the other email question is long. We'll save that for overflow.
Okay.
We do have some from the Twitter though.
Oh shit! Yeah, go ahead quickly.
Yeah. Okay, so
we're gonna have to extend by about 5 or 10 minutes because I ranted too much.
Do that. Okay, so Crystal Wing, as I said, I'm doing a Dead Space style D&D campaign to make sure I get the Eldritch horror themes correct. I've been replaying Dead Space and rereading Magic the Gathering, Shadows over Innistrad, and Eldritch Moon arcs. Mm-hmm. You guys know any Lovecraft stories I can read for inspiration?
Shadow over Innsmouth. And even more so at the Mountains of Madness.
Yeah, yes. That's exactly what I was going to say. There you go. You have inspiration. And Ordained Course Elric asks, how exactly do you finance a comic? Hey, something that we are going to
crowdfund the fuck out of it.
Going by average artist page rates, it would cost between $2,000 and $7,000 to produce a single 22-page comic.
Yep.
This would put a 6-issue miniseries between $12 and $42,000. As for a full 12-month run, well, famous video games have been made for less. Even if you were to crowdfund, you'd still need something to back up your pitch, which means you'd need to put down at least $2 to $7K for a first issue / prototype. Where the hell is an independent creator supposed to get that kind of money? Also, did you see the post about the Epic Store that he tweeted at us?
I do remember somebody making a Palestine joke in the Hero Hey stream, but that was funny. I completely missed it. But no, crowdfunding. Basically, what you're doing with crowdfunding is you're pitching the audience instead of a company. Because that capital would initially be invested by a company because they would be convinced that that's going to sell. Instead, you're just pitching straight to the audience. And you're basically saying, this is what I got. This is what we've worked on so far. If you want the full thing, this is the goal we have to hit. And they buy copies. That's basically it. That's basically how the crowdfunding model works. And that was Damos Z who made that Palestine joke. That was a good one. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. You just crowdfund it, basically. Or you pitch it to a publisher. And they'll invest the capital for you.
We're about to crowdfund it.
Yep.
The former. We'll have to do the former.
I want to answer a Damos Z question. Oh, was that all for Twitter?
Yes, that's all for Twitter.
Okay, so Damos Z asks, damn it, chat. Hold on. Okay, so How would I write a Devilman or Mazinger Z story if I was given Go Nagai's blessing to do it? I wouldn't write Mazinger. I'm not that familiar with it. I've only watched like the OVAs. With Devilman, I'm a Devilman freak. I am probably going to get another poster to contrast my Guts one here of Devilman at some point in the near future for like one of the manga pages. But anyway, would I do it in a heartbeat? I love the Devilman story. It's an incredible one. How would I do it? Oh, God. I don't know off the top of my head what I would do, like, plot-wise. I can tell you right now it would be as dark as the darkest points of that story. It would probably be, like, on the level of the, there's an OVA called Amon. Watch it, you'll get what I would have written. Like, again, I'm 300 plus pounds of heavy fucking metal. Like, I'm a dark writer. I'll admit it. But I'm one of those guys that I think I can make dark interesting. So, I'm not an edgelord. So. Okay, so everybody's wanting to know, Daniel, but we're just going to count this for hard-boiled. Yeah. Where did the whole Serena loves Micah thing originally come from? You have to watch The Overflow. We got a super long question from her about victim mentality. So, and that's what the episode's called, is leaving the victim mentality. It's from 2 weeks ago. And there was a joke about her leaving her community. I said something about her being into. It's like I said, if you're into chubby white guys, I'm available. And then the next question she asked said she's only into muscular white guys. And I'm like, I have muscle! So it's been just a back and forth. It's just an inside joke.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yes.
It's funny.
Because I am so single it hurts.
Oh. Okay.
It did get me to realize, though, that I did need to start dropping weight again, if nothing else. Because, dear God, do I love that feeling when women call you attractive. Fuck. It's a damn good feeling.
All right, so Will Geary's got a question that... Some people are worried about Captain Marvel in Endgame, particularly the unfounded idea, according to Russo's, that she will defeat Thanos. Do you think this is unfounded?
So, there was a set of leaks, and there's some conflicting information. Some of it might have been test footage.
Did you see them?
I didn't watch them because I didn't want to completely spoil myself. I saw the screenshots, though.
I watched them. It was about 4.5 minutes, and it does not look like test footage. It looks like the final film because it's got, like, Arabic subtitles attached to it.
Uh-huh.
And how do I spoiling it? Okay, I will say this. Some of the footage came from the final sequence of the movie, or what I assume is the final sequence of the movie, based on some other things that happen in there. Captain Marvel is there trying to get a thing. And that's all I'm going to say. A thing that implies that she is going to do something major. So the whole idea of there being two cuts of Endgame, one where she does something major, one where she doesn't do something major, I think it might be the former. I'm trying not to spoil this as best as I can.
Well, the worry is that she kills Thanos.
Nobody died in any of the leaked footage. You did not see anyone's deaths. You did not get the implication that anyone died from that. So, and no final blows were struck. No one was defeated or anything. It was...
You see her fetching an important MacGuffin, though.
Yes.
Okay. So that doesn't really completely dissuade people's fears. It certainly doesn't dissuade mine. But,
she does not get the Infinity Gauntlet. I'll tell you that. She does not get the Infinity Gauntlet.
It's something else, probably.
It's something else, but she does not get the Infinity Gauntlet.
But, there, like, from what I saw, it was going to be or and one of the rumors is that there were basically certain scenes that were shot with her, and then they called back members of the main cast to shoot the scenes again as them instead. And then some of that footage was leaked out as well. So my fear with Endgame, more so than anything, is that the executive meddling that could be going on here because of the worry of public backlash. And my whole thing is that you should have had this sort of fear ages ago when Brie Larson started opening her fucking mouth. Because what I'm seeing from some people is honestly that there are some people who really like her. There's some people that fucking hate her. There's no middle ground.
No, it really, really is not. And she, at least from what I've seen of the in-game footage, she acts basically the same way that she does in Captain Marvel. So the whole idea of, well, maybe she's better because this was shot before Captain Marvel itself was shot. I don't think so, Tim.
Koopa's Revenge Home. Brain snatched that question up. We are going to have to answer that on the overflow.
Yeah, that's a good question, too. I will say this, at least, to dissuade any hard feelings about Endgame. There's one scene in particular that is fucking awesome. That was part of the leaks. And I cannot wait for you guys to see it and to fucking talk about it because it is cool as shit. It is really, really, really cool. Everyone's going to lose their shit in the theaters. Everybody.
Okay. Damos Z asks a question, says, "Do you thoughts on Spoonie probably going to jail for ramming into someone at a red light? I think he had it coming." I didn't hear about that, but it doesn't surprise me. And that's the weird thing about it, is like, I'm not surprised. Insert Nick Diaz clip of "I'm not surprised, motherfuckers." Like, he has had a myriad of mental issues and has only ever surrounded himself with people who will fluff job him. Like, the girl that he dated after fucking Scarlet was a complete and total fangirl who was never going to tell him he was doing anything wrong ever. And then his entire life spiraled out of control when he could probably be sitting at 1 million subscribers on YouTube right now. Easily. Because he is a surprisingly creative guy. But his mind is just not there. So, yeah, not surprised. Alright, so we gave you the 5 extra minutes because I ranted too much. So for those of you who have not had a question answered yet, please go ahead and put your questions into the chat for the overflow. Tag BrainboxBoy, he is still here. And we will go ahead and answer that. So, yeah. Other than that, Hatman, any final thoughts for the week?
Oh God. Next week we're going to be reviewing Endgame.
Will we? When's Endgame come out?
Next Friday. We're going to be reviewing Endgame next week.
Shit, I might have to buy my tickets this week then.
You better, yeah.
And I'll be reviewing Mortal Kombat 11 as well.
Holy shit. Okay, we're going to have like a supersized Micah and The Hatman, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
Right.
So I will be preparing for that.
Yeah, holy shit. But other than that, everybody have a happy Easter tomorrow.
Amen to that. All right, folks, we are going to take off. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
See you guys next week. Deus Vult.
Deus Vult.